As I said, it's been 6 months or coming up to 6 months. And clearly during that time, I had the opportunity to talk to many of you here in Europe as well in the US. And I acknowledge and I recognize that on our journey to become a better partner to you, we have work to do, right? And kind of on my thinking process, I say we have work to do on these 4 buckets. And I would say certainly there is a bit more. But the first one is about customer success. Make no doubt, our goal is to make all of you wildly successful and referenceable and guiding you through the journey to drive change in your companies and really try and get value from the use of Eightfold. So you can advocate for Eightfold and the talent intelligence space that we are just shaping together. But we know we have work to do there. In the product side, innovation is definitely there. There is not a drop of doubt in my mind that we are certainly innovating quite a lot. But as we innovate, we also need to recognize that we need to make strides to ensure our products are easier to adopt and activate. And we also need to do a better job on how we communicate and improve visibility on what's coming next, so you know and you're much more informed about that, right? Becoming a trusted partner, business partner to you. We are the most, as I say, AI innovator HR. But becoming a true trusted partner for you is a different journey. It means that we deliver on every promise we make. It means that we're able to serve you with industry-leading services and support. And we have work to do there, but we're certainly doing that work to become better, and we appreciate the feedback you're providing to us to get in there. And then we're really amplifying the team. As I said, there is an amazing team of world-class AI leaders and business executives here. We're just amplifying with other people that have seen what good look like at scale in our industries that hopefully will make us a better partner to you and become doing a much better job and making you happier and certain that you get more value of you partnering with us. So all in all, we're really getting started. It's been just 8 years. Clearly for me, it's very early days, learning a lot. Getting started is partnering with many of you, customers like Prerna, but all of you here. But it's as well partnering with some of the top leaders, HR consulting organizations and strategic ones out there in the world. And one of those ones is Deloitte. And we're really, really happy to partner with Deloitte. And we're very happy to have here today Christopher Hall, who is the partner lead offering for workforce organization and transformation at Deloitte. Christoph.
Nice being here.
Thank you. Please take a seat.
I will take over the clicker.
Yeah, you can have the clicker.
Thanks.
All right, good. Well, before we get into the topic, certainly you have a very tons to cover on content here, but just maybe a few words on Christoph so the audience get to know you.
Yeah, I also start with a personal note. I think it's all about human beings, and we need to know who is behind these crazy role titles we all have currently. So I'm from Austria. I'm happily married and a proud father of 3 children. And believe it or not, the youngest is already just finishing high school. So a new phase in our life will start, which I'm really looking forward to. And as said before, it's always nice to learn from younger people, also from your children. And besides family, I'm really completely passionate about HR for over 25 years now. I've co-founded 2 companies, so I used to be an entrepreneur. I still feel like an entrepreneur, but the original founded company is still in place, run by my founding partner, which is great. So there's one company still there. The other one we sold successfully. And our mission statement, and I just realized that when I entered today's room, was make the future of HR a reality. And it's so cool to be, after 25 years, to still be in that position to work with companies like Eightfold and now within Deloitte to really push that topic to employees and workers, because that's, I think, what it's all about at the end of the day. So happy to be here and to guide you through. That's about me.
Happy to have you here, and hopefully you're having your landing on the moon moment with your children, as Ashu is having, making life easier for you. Well, you produce one of the largest longitudinal HR studies I ever read, right? I spend a lot of time in planes, so thank you for entertaining me, right? So can you maybe, I'm sure many of the people here in the audience have read it as well, but can you give us a little bit more background and context on that one, and how it's evolved?
Yeah, just curious, who has read the capital trends this year? couple, yeah. It's actually evolved over time. So I think we're in the 10th or 11th year now.
Yeah.
And also like me being an entrepreneur before, I always used this HC capital trends because I found them quite interesting and also inspirational. So in the meantime, we are doing the survey with over 14,000 people across 95 countries, across all industries and sectors. So it's not a US study anymore. It's really globally, and it's providing us with good inputs of what people and companies are dealing with. And over the time, what we've realized, and I think what's also important, is that we shifted from a pure HR focus more to a business focus, because it's much more than just the siloed function of HR and talking about talent and other things. The second shift we did, which I think was extremely useful and worth, because we started in interviewing executives only, and now we expanded it over to workers, which is really interesting to get this feedback. And thirdly, it's not about organizational view anymore or organizational centric, it's really ecosystem centric. But I think you're not interested in this bragging about the numbers, what it's all about. And believe it or not, even for myself, the 2024 trends were not quite self-explaining at first sight. So I was struggling a little bit saying, well, what's this year, what's going on here? But if you look at all these topics here, is that what you will see immediately, it's all about putting people and humans in the center of everything. And especially as we have all these trends and evolvements with technology and Gen AI as being like really a big thing, it's really important to not forget about the people, and also to make sure that we take them with us, because everything is getting boundaryless. So if you take today's world, workplace is boundaryless. Work is boundaryless. Collaboration is boundaryless. So we're not working or collaborating only like people to people. We're collaborating people to machines, to robots with Gen AI. So this is dramatically changing. And that really also puts some heavy pressure on our workers, and it's not employees anymore. Also, this is really boundaryless. We're talking about gig workers, part-time workers, machines, etc. And this is where it all comes from. And we will talk about a couple of trends, but they're all like interconnected between each other. And I think what is really important, also reflecting to the previous speeches here, is, and that's an important one, that one is knowing about this one. And I'm pretty sure that everyone would agree, yeah, that makes sense, all fine. But doing it differently is the big obstacle or big challenge. And as you see from the numbers here, so the majority, 3/4, said, well, yeah, that's really very critical and important. But only 10% of the companies in respondents said, well, yeah, we're already doing great things. And that's what I would like to focus on in today's talk here, to tell you how you could get started, and why it's really important to just get started. It's not always like doing the 100% full-blown stuff. It's getting started, deal with it, face it.
Yeah, and we've seen it on some of the survey results before,
Yeah.
right? We've been talking about the talent center AI advantage today, clearly the use of Gen AI, and
Yeah.
you know, how is Gen AI and how you guys see it impacting the employee life cycle, and what does it mean for the function
Yeah.
of HR?
So I think it's an exciting time for HR and in general for companies. Again, if we see it from two angles, HR is very focused on what we called old proxies, like it's a siloed function. It says, well, we need to work on operating models, on org design and stuff like that.
HR says so.
Says so very often, or they hope that this is the solution. And on the other hand, I think that's not the way how HR should position itself anymore. And this is not only driven because we are talking about this boundaryless world, we are talking about the boundaryless HR, but it's really also because it's moving faster and faster. And especially talking about Gen AI, it's the people dealing with it. So HR needs to be really careful to still remain in the driver's seat, and also to put in some guardrails to say, well, we are supporting the business, but we are also supporting the humans in here.
Yeah.
And I think what the good news is for HR is, with just making sure that HR can use Gen AI as well, lots of repetitive tasks or tasks that can be automated save up time for doing other things. And I think it's really important to say, well, how can we create an atmosphere where HR is really supporting the business. And we have created kind of an equation here that human outcomes multiplied by the business outcomes result in this human performance. And this is actually the reason where organizations really being able to not sustainably survive today, but longer term. And we are facing so many situations still, and that's what I referred to the old proxies, where we say, well, how can we ensure that humans are better at work? But this is not the way anymore. And I remember one customer experience a couple of years ago where we did a project in the US, and I had all my team, like German colleagues there, and then the customer said, well, send me over more of these Germans, they work like machines. And this is just like, it used to be quite good, but this is not what we need humans for anymore, right? So who is driving innovation? It's humans. Yes, who is prompting ChatGPT? It's humans. So it should be the human outcomes that we need to support from an HR point of view in order to create human performance, but also business outcomes. So it's not as much the question anymore, what can HR do for the business only, but also what can and must HR do for people? Because how do we attract people? How do we retain people? What have we to offer as a company to people? And it's not only about well-being, and we also all know the terms of quiet quitting, etc. We need to provide them with a purpose. We need to provide them with a topic, so we don't count you in as machines. We count you in as human beings. We count you in for creating relationships. We count you in for co-creating our future. So it's not about like HR by themselves just creating the new rules at the end of the day. And I think that's how we should prioritize this factor to this, or the focus on the human performance. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, clearly something that is top of mind here and is part of your study is about skills, right?
Yeah.
Drilling down a little bit more on skills. It's obvious that is the way that many more organizations are doing some decisions about work and workers and organization as a whole, something that I think you at Deloitte call the skills-based organization. Yeah. But you also highlight the point that in many industries there is quite a significant deficit in talent pool of skills, right? So how do you think insights is going to help to kind of bridge that gap or manage some of those industries?
I think that to what I've said earlier, what have been said earlier already, is that people say, well, we do need to move towards that skill-based approach or organization, but we don't have the basis in place. And in addition to that, I think many companies are really facing the challenge that they really don't need what kind of skills they would need tomorrow. And this is where we can make use of Gen AI and technology. I think the biggest mistake a company could do is to say, well, let's invest in technology to resolve that issue. You can have technology in place to enable like the transition towards a skill-based organization. And in my opinion, again, it's more about setting the right attitude. So it's not about the hard skills necessary, like coding, accounting, financing, etc. Certainly we do need these skills. On the other hand, we also can ask ourselves, do we need these skills with people, or do we need technology to do that for us? So coding, we've learned that before, can be done by machines if humans prompt correctly, right? So the question is more of how open, how creative we are to say, well, instead of just complaining that we can't find talent out there, to say, well, how can we achieve a situation where we have to thrive our employees, to say, well, if we make sure that you have the right attitude and that you're flexible to adapt to what you do, and therefore the jobs are also not working out anymore, it's about skills, then we're on the right path. So we need to be really creative to say, well, if someone is doing one task today, what potentially he or she can do tomorrow, and what can be taken over by machines. And this also will be reducing that people will be afraid of losing their jobs. There is still enough work and enough topics and tasks people can do. The question is, how do we address it? And when we say, well, a car manufacturer, for example, needs to completely overthink his business, because it's not about producing and selling cars anymore, it's about providing services, mobility services.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Same for like the topic of batteries. And so we need to see, well, whom from our existing workforce is still needed in the area we are now, who is ready to be and upskilled to the new topics, and potentially who do we need to take from the market. And it's always like this equation of the 3/3, and then we will be like much more positive towards the future. And it will be like Ashu said, that the pace is getting faster and faster, and the changes are becoming more and more and more. So we need to constantly adapt and be resilient, and that's why it's so important to not only say, well, it's not jobs anymore, it's skills, but to really also use technology to have data in place. So what are the skills in our company? Many companies do know less about the skills of their employees than the entire market, because the LinkedIn profiles are better maintained than the employee profile in their core HI system. And that's a big thing, a big challenge in my opinion. And if you make that sure, creating and surrounding this by trust also, that people and humans know, why do we keep this data? How do we handle the data? What are we doing this? Then things like a talent marketplace, talent acquisition, and this matching is working well, and it's easy. And I think that's what we owe to our workers, that we need to make things easier. And there is so much excuses why this can't be done. And that's a big problem in my opinion, because we see it from our private lives and using Ubers and Netflix and Airbnb and whatever. Everything is convenient and easy because people were thinking outside the box and reinventing what they want to do. And in the companies, we always say, well, but there is 20 systems in place, we can't set them end of life. Why? There is 20 different processes where there could be one. And I think if we are not really willing to fundamentally and drastically rethink the way we do business, we wouldn't attract talent and we wouldn't retain talent. And people have the right to say, well, we want to have an experience also in the work life. And it's not employee experience, it's work experience, but it's about the same. And technology is in place. So it's not the technology, it's our mindset that I think hinders us from really moving forward. And last sentence on this one, I think there is no right or wrong, and there is also like, it's necessary to set expectations correctly. You just need to get started. You need to also be aware that you can try out things. There is no 100% solution necessary to be in place at the first go live. Just get started and familiarize yourself with it.
Christoph, wrapping up here, I mean, you talk in this report about digital playgrounds. I mean, is that something that you can share with us, the audience? You know, how can that drive performance? Maybe any other thing that you would like to highlight before we wrap up?
I think one of the results we received from the survey is that many workers are really scared and afraid of technology. And they say, well, if I'm now using ChatGPT, so is there any like legal aspects that I need to consider? Is there any risk if I'm using ChatGPT? And there is so much pressure on them that they are rather thinking, well, we don't use it at all, instead of just trying it out. And what we refer to with the digital playgrounds is to say, well, how can we ensure that we create playgrounds in companies where people or divisions, HR, can try out things, basically. And the interesting thing, again, about knowing and doing is we found out with our study that only 13% have trained people on Gen AI. Everyone's talking about Gen AI, but no one, like companies, nearly no one, or like 1 out of 10, really invested money to train people on Gen AI literacy, for example. So this is really creating a gap. This is not healthy. And creating digital playgrounds would mean to have safe spaces to provide kind of also psychological safety for people to say, well, I can try out things and I would not harm our business. And it's not just like trying out things. It's always like keeping in mind how can we sustainably grow our business, etc. But it's also like opening room for creativity. I think it's not on leaders or executives only anymore to shape how the business works tomorrow. It's about the people. Again, innovation is happening by people. So why aren't we letting our people rethink the way they are doing their jobs, their daily jobs, and say, well, what if, for example, Gen AI would be able to automatically categorize my meetings by importance and say, well, this is meetings You can attend, but you don't need to. Instead, I'll offer you to send perfect meeting notes, including the to-dos, etc. Technology is ready. It's our mindset that is not ready, right? And there is so many topics that potentially would just pop up with having like outside the box thinking, even like consulting. Very often I'm asking myself, how would consulting look like in 5 years from now? With Gen AI being in place, with a way of I'm prompting a system instead of bringing consulting on site. And I think there will be a distinction between like social interaction, advice, where we really need like to see each other, to work with each other, and there will be lots of commodity consulting that will be automated.
Yeah.
And again, we shouldn't be scared of this. We should see it as a big chance, actually.
Great.
And that's the idea of the digital playgrounds, yeah? Because at the end of the day, opportunities are unlimited.
Yeah.
But you need to have a chance to try it out, right?
Wonderful. Any final thought to share? Or
So I'm always quite positive, and I'm an optimist. So I said, we are just at the beginning. And as I said, there is no right, no wrong. It's really a huge invention with the topic of Gen AI. It reminds me of the steam engine even, or cars. So it's really something revolutionary. So instead of ducking away or saying, well, we are scared, we are afraid, we better don't start, because that's not an option, face it. It's there, and it will be there even quicker as we think. So I think we just should be happy and also grateful that we have the chance to work with it, and we are really privileged in having this option. We should make ourselves out of HR having the right to sit at the table and to co-create this entire topic, and we should do it together with our people. It's not like top-down only, it's really all of us or no one at the end of the day. And we need to make sure that people are feeling comfortable. So it's about the trust, it's about the transparency. It's also like to say, well, it's still people who are prompting, it's still people who are taking the results that ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever provides us, and then we are taking the decisions. That's really important, so it's not the machines taking over. And I think instead of just saying, well, we need to make humans better at work, we should also think about how can we make work better for humans. Yeah. And that would be my final remark. And
that's a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
How we can make work better for humans. And clearly amazing pivotal moment for HR in terms of the strategic importance and in terms of the opportunity to blending and leveraging technology to work for us.
Exactly.
So thank you for being with us. Thank you for being a partner.
Thanks.
Thank you, Christoph.